Hi everyone, Amy Abelar with Acupuncture Practice Systems. I'm going to make a quick video about how I paid cash for my tuition while going to grad school, and I did it while working less hours than I was working prior to going to grad school. The main reason I want to make this video is because I have seen people posting about how they went to grad school for acupuncture, they had 200 plus $1,000 in student loan debt, and how they're very frustrated that now that they are graduated, they're not making enough money to pay for all of their bills, their student loans, etc. So there's ways that you can make this happen, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I did that. So first thing is, I was a massage therapist before going to acupuncture school, and about the time, I'll back up a little bit further. So I knew that I could not physically do massage for the rest of my career. I started very young as a massage therapist, and I knew that that was just too physically demanding, and I wasn't sure what I would transition into at some point, but I ended up deciding that I wanted to do acupuncture. So while I was making this decision, I was also terrified of the idea of having student loans. I really did not want to go into debt. I didn't like debt in general. And so I wanted to be able to go to grad school, but I did not want student loan debt, and I wasn't sure what to do. So I was actually talking to a massage client about it, and he basically was like, well, when was the last time you raised your prices? And I said, well, gosh, I haven't raised my massage rates in like 3 years. And he goes, okay, so do that. And I said, I don't know, I might lose some clients. He said, yeah, but he says, consider the supply and demand, which of course I had a bachelor's in business at this point, right? But I was so focused on just making clients happy and being the people pleaser that I was, that I wasn't really thinking about it from that perspective. But he brought up a great point, which I'm gonna position to you, and that was supply and demand. I had 6 to 7 days a week of massage clients who wanted to come in and see me for a massage. I could not accommodate that many patients. I couldn't work that much if I was going to be starting grad school, right? Because I actually I live outside of Sacramento area, and the closest schools to me for acupuncture programs were in the Bay Area, which meant I was going to have to commute at least a couple of hours each way in order to go to grad school, or I was going to have to move to the Bay Area, which I didn't want to do. It's going to be expensive. So I decided that I would continue to work doing massage. I would cut back the number of days, and I would increase my prices. And he basically said, worst case scenario, if you're in a situation, classic supply and demand, I have more massage clients than what I could possibly accommodate while I go to grad school, because if I am already booked at 6 to 7 days, if I'm already booked for 6 to 7 days a week treating massage clients, and I'm gonna have to cut back the number of days I work while going to grad school, he's like, worst case scenario, you lose some clients because you raise your prices, but you can't accommodate those clients anyways, right? So that's what I decided to do. I raised my prices only by like $10 an hour. It wasn't anything crazy huge, but that made a big difference for me. I also found when I did that I had kind of been underpricing myself for a little while because I just was afraid to raise prices. I didn't want to disappoint anybody and or upset anyone. Really, it was about me being anxious about not wanting to upset anyone or have them decide to go find somebody else. I found that pretty much everybody, I think there was like one person who was pissed about it, about the $10, and everybody else stayed. So now I'm making more money, and also I still have the same amount of clients. So actually, when I started grad school was when I hired my very first massage therapist, because at this point I now rent a room that's available to me for 7 days a week. And I don't have the capacity to work 7 days a week while I'm going to grad school. 2 days a week, I commuted to Oakland to go to ACCHS for my master's. I actually started out working 5 days a week doing massage, commuting to Oakland 2 days a week for classes, taking 18 units my first semester. That was horrible. I very quickly realized that that was not something that I could sustain. And so I cut back to 4 days a week of treating massage clients, 2 days a week commuting to grad school, and 1 day a week where I actually like did my meal prep and slept in and spent time with my significant other. So anyways, point being, I cut back the number of hours that I was working, but I hired another massage therapist to work the days that I was not there. I've got a whole nother video on how to find the right person to take over that position, the qualities that I looked for in that person to make sure it was going to be a great fit. But for the purposes of this video, I raised my prices. So I was making more per session when I was working because I had more supply of clients than I could accommodate because I was going to have to take days off to start grad school. And then I chose to take that demand that was still there and run with it. And I hired another massage therapist to fill the schedule, to be there and be available on the days that I wasn't there. So I worked 4 days a week. She worked 3 days a week. That is fully maximizing that room that I have available. And then I was also now making money on the days that I was at grad school, treating the days I was at grad school learning acupuncture. She was there in the office doing massage for clients, and that was bringing me in income as well. So there's definitely ways that you can do this. I paid my tuition as I went. I saved up money from the fact that I was continuing to work. You do not have to go $250,000 in debt in order to do acupuncture school. Now, I was tired. I worked my butt off. I took on extra massage clients during the summer times, or not during the summer times, during the semester breaks. We did three trimesters, I guess, year round. There was like 2 weeks in between first and second trimester, 2 weeks between second and third trimester, and then I think we had 3 weeks over like the Christmas and New Year's holiday. So during those weeks, I worked extra, right? I worked extra if I could. But my point is, supply and demand, capitalize on what you can, raise your prices if you can. And that was how I ended up paying for my tuition as I went. I also actually got a discount on my tuition because I used a credit card to pay for my tuition, and then, please hear me on this, and then I paid the balance, right? So I did not pay interest on a credit card. I paid the balance, but let's say my semester tuition was $6,000. If I put that on my credit card, the school charged 1% fee to put your tuition on a credit card. And then I got 3% cash back on the credit card purchase. So I ended up actually I net a 2% discount on my tuition because I got 3% cash back on my total expense. It's, roughly. I got 3% cash back on my total expense, and I did 1% fee to the school. So that was how I also saved a little bit of money on my tuition. Now, I'm not saying everybody has the capacity to pay their tuition out of pocket. I'm not saying everybody has the capacity to, raise their prices because maybe you're not in an industry right now while you're looking at grad school to do something like that. But there's a lot of people who are. Tons of people that I went to grad school with were massage therapists, estheticians, somebody who was who already had some sort of clientele. And I can tell you guys, you do not have to be unemployed while you're going to grad school. Absolutely, if you decide that you're going to not work while you go to grad school, you're going to have to take out student loans because now not only are you having to pay for your tuition, but you're having to pay for your cost of living too. And that is going to add up big time, especially when acupuncture is year round. So your tuition is not nearly as much as having to pay for your cost of living for the time that you're going to grad school. So I highly recommend you work through grad school. I highly recommend, and it could be that you're working at a clinic that's going to give you ideas for building your business when you're done. There's lots of different options for work, but I highly recommend working through grad school. Highly recommend, if you are somebody who's a massage therapist or an esthetician, that you raise your prices because you're going to have less time available to work on those clients anyways. So if you lose a few clients while you raise your rates so that you can cover the cost of your expenses, I can tell you it feels good to graduate and be at a net zero where I paid for my cost of living and I paid for my tuition while I was going to school, and I didn't have to take a loan out that then I have to pay back over who knows how long. So if you're in that boat, I would highly, highly suggest that you work on getting a job where you can make a decent amount of money while going to school, because it's absolutely possible. There's also different programs. You can take a little bit longer and go more part-time to acupuncture school. You know, that has its own drawbacks, right? Opportunity costs. The sooner you graduate, the sooner you can make more money as an acupuncturist. And then also, if you're somebody who already has debt and you're trying to figure out how to pay it back, I'd highly recommend looking into Acupuncture Practice Systems. It is a membership that I built that is all of the business templates, documents, workflows, policies, business coaching, all the things that helped me grow a successful acupuncture and massage business. So if you're interested in checking that out, the link is here. But again, highly recommend working through grad school so that you don't end up with a mountain of student loan debt that you're trying to navigate paying off later.